Welcome to the Death Row and Executions channel. I'm Paco Rivera. You can also follow me on Facebook for more death row news and execution updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Little Cassandra Lynn Williamson, known to everyone as Casey, was born on Thanksgiving Day in 1995. By the year 2002, Casey was 6 years old and attending kindergarten at Valley Park Elementary School in Missouri. She was the second oldest of 4 siblings. Her older sister, Chelsea, was 12. Elizabeth was 4, and her little brother, Ernie, named after his father, was 2 years old. Casey was said to have a big, bright smile. At just 6 years old, she enjoyed attending a Protestant church near her home. She also enjoyed riding her bicycle and singing, and she was a huge fan of Britney Spears. Casey was the daughter of Ernie and Angela Williamson. Casey's family and friends would never see her graduate from any school. There would be no family trips with Casey to the beach or an amusement park or theaters to see her favorite movie or proms or marriage or seeing Casey have her own children, because that year of 2002 a monster decided to end her life when she was still just 6 years old. Earlier that year, Casey's parents, Ernie and Angela, had separated. Angela, known more as Angie, then takes her 4 children to live with her father, the kid's grandfather, Jim Weidman, on Benton Street in Valley Park, Missouri. Almost directly across the street from Mr. Weidman's home lived Eddie Barrick with his girlfriend, Michelle Rem. That couple, Eddie and Michelle, were also friends of Casey's parents, Ernie and Angie. And not long after Angie moved into her father's house with the kids, Eddie and Michelle agreed to rent a room to Casey's father, Ernie, on the second floor of their house across the street so that he can be near his children. On Wednesday, July 24th, 2002, although separated from their marriage, Ernie and Angie were spending some time together on the front porch of Angie's father's house on Benton Street when they see an old acquaintance coming up the road. It was 24-year-old Johnny Johnson, who Ernie and Angie have known since they were all children. They had all gone to school together. The 3 of them talked for a while, and then Johnny leaves. Later that evening, Angie takes the children across the street to Eddie and Michelle's house so that the kids can spend the night with their dad. And when they went inside, Johnny Johnson was also there. As it turns out, Johnson was also a friend of Michelle's boyfriend, Eddie. Sometime later, Angie took the children up to Ernie's room on the second floor to spend the night, and even though Ernie and Angie are separated from their marriage, she ends up staying there all night too. Early the following morning, now Thursday, July 25th, Angie wakes up and her daughter Casey is not in the room. She goes downstairs and finds Johnny Johnson and Casey sitting on opposite ends of the couch watching television. Johnson had apparently slept on the couch overnight. Angie asks Johnny Johnson if Casey had awoken him, and he told her no, she's fine, that she wasn't bothering him. Later that day in the evening, everyone was eating food from the grill at Eddie and Michelle's home when they saw Johnny Johnson coming up the road again, and they invited him to eat as well. And he ended up staying the night again on the couch. Angie and the children also stayed again that night up on the second floor with Ernie. At about 6:30 in the morning, now Friday, July 26th, the alarm goes off for Ernie to get ready for work. Casey tells her father that she's hungry. He tells her to let him finish up getting ready in the bathroom, and he will take her across the street to her grandfather's house to find her some food. Ernie then went to the bathroom located downstairs on the first floor. He walked past the couch where he saw Johnny Johnson asleep on it. Ernie later said that he was in the bathroom for no more than about 15 minutes. He came out and Johnny Johnson was no longer on the couch. He was gone. Ernie then went upstairs to get his daughter Casey, but she was also gone. He wakes up his wife Angie to let her know that Casey was gone. They wondered if, since Casey had said she was hungry, maybe Johnny Johnson took her to a nearby store to get her something to eat. Ernie went to the store. They were never there. He returned quickly and went to his father-in-law's house across the street to see if Casey went in there on her own. Mr. Weidman said that his granddaughter did not enter the house. That's when they called 911. Because Casey and Johnny Johnson had both vanished from the house at about the same time, it was presumed that they left together, and police were looking for both of them. Police began a search for Casey, and the families split up and began searching as well. Many from around the community learned of the disappearance and also volunteered to join in on the search. A witness named Louis Barnhart learned of the incident and told police that he saw a man with a little girl walking along St. Louis Avenue and 6th Street earlier that morning, carrying a little girl on his back, piggyback. The little girl fit a description of Casey, and his description of the man fit that of Johnny Johnson. Casey's older sister, Chelsea, and a friend named Angel both went looking around on their bicycles, and Angel spotted Johnny Johnson walking back toward Benton Street, where everyone lived. Angel told Johnny that they were looking for Casey, and she asked him, "Where is Casey?" Johnson told her that he doesn't know. Angel then quickly finds a police officer and provides Johnny Johnson's location, since she knew that they were also looking for him. Police pick up Johnson, and they find him completely drenched, as if he had gone swimming with all his clothes on. He is taken to the police station for questioning. At that time, they also bring in the witness, Louis Barnhart, who positively identifies Johnson as the man he'd seen carrying Casey on his back, piggyback, earlier that morning. Johnny Johnson finally admitted that he had taken Casey to the old abandoned glass factory in Valley Park. But his story about what happened there changed several times during questioning. At first saying that it was an accident, that he and Casey were trying to climb over a rock wall and that she slipped and fell and a rock became dislodged and hit her on the head, killing her. He said he then panicked and buried her. But when police arrived at the old glass factory and found Casey's body buried under rocks, leaves, and tree branches, it was obvious to them that Casey did not die in the manner that Johnson was saying. Now, most of what happened that morning comes from Johnny Johnson's final confession to police. So we may never really know the exact truth of what occurred or the accuracy of that confession. But according to Johnson, he woke up on the couch at Eddie and Michelle's home, and Casey was standing near the couch. She was wearing her child's nightgown and she was barefoot. Johnson gave her the impression that he was about to leave, and Casey asked him, "Where are you going?" Johnson told her that he was going to hang out for a while at the old glass factory and that it's a great place to play games and have fun, and if she wanted to come along. And she agreed. Johnson said that as they were walking along rough ground up the road, Casey complained that her feet were hurting. Remember, she was still barefoot. And she agreed to ride on his back piggyback. They arrived at the old glass factory and make their way over a rock wall into a secluded area, kind of a pit located there. Johnson then stood in front of Casey and asked her if she wanted to see his private part, and she said no. but he removed his shorts anyway. He then told her to remove her panties so that he can see hers, but she refused. Johnson said that he then picked up a brick and hit her on the head several times, injuring her. He then ripped off her panties and threw her to the ground and got on top of her, but he says that he was unable to obtain an erection because Casey was, in his words, freaking out. She was kicking and screaming and trying desperately to crawl away. He said he began striking her in the head several more times with a brick as Casey was repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Johnson then picked up what has been described as a basketball-sized boulder and brought it down on her head, killing her. He then buried her under rocks, leaves, and tree branches. Johnson then went to the nearby Merrimack River to wash off blood on his body. It was not long after that he was picked up by police. Ernie and Angie Williamson, and the neighbors from across the street, Eddie and Michelle, even knowing that Johnny Johnson had used drugs, had some legal troubles, and was somewhat of a drifter who sometimes crashed on the couch of people's homes, never saw him as a threat of any kind and would never suspect that he would harm a child. This is what they have said. He appeared mild-mannered and harmless, and they never thought, not even a bit, that he was capable of doing what he had done. I came across several documentaries and podcasts regarding this case while I was researching it. I noticed that most of the documentaries and podcasts had spent a lot of time discussing Johnny Johnson's upbringing, how he had a very hard life, was consuming drugs, and how he was suffering from schizophrenia. There was a lot of talk about Johnny Johnson's mental illness, depression, and suicide attempts over the years. The fact is that Johnson was not insane, not legally anyway. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew it was wrong. And he tried to hide his actions from being discovered. This is something that a legally insane person would not do. They wouldn't know that they have done anything wrong. Casey's older sister, Chelsea, joined Casey in heaven on March 12, 2015, at just 24 years of age, when she passed away on her third day in the hospital after an infection from pneumonia caused multi-organ failure. Please remember to subscribe for more death row and upcoming execution stories. Remember that you can also follow me on Facebook for more death row news, execution updates, and more. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. I'm Paco Rivera. Bye for now.